Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to knit this little fisherman's cap, so stay tuned. For this project you're going to need a 16-inch size 4 circular needle, 4 double-pointed needles, a tapestry needle, and regular old yarn. First you're going to want to make a slip knot, and this is going to act as our first stitch. And you want to make sure that the tail end of the yarn is long enough to get 100 stitches out of it, which is usually like 2 of my arm lengths. This method that I'm showing is called long tail casting on. I feel it's one of the easiest ones. I don't go very in depth about how to do it, but you can kind of just see from me doing it, but I will put a tutorial down below if you need further assistance. You want to make sure that the short end of the yarn is the one going over your finger and the one attached to the ball is going over your thumb, and you grasp them with your bottom fingers and you just do it how I'm showing you now, and you go under the thumb over the finger and you just continue that for all 100 stitches. And of course once you know how to do it, it gets really fast. I'm showing this pattern with 100 stitches, which fits my head, but I have a small head, like 20 inches. So if you want to make it bigger, all you have to do is add increases of 4. You're going to want to use a stitch marker, but if you don't have one, you can just tie a little piece of string around your finger and it's basically the same. You want to make sure that the yarn is coming from the right needle before you start. And I always start with both strings, so I just knit the first stitch with both the tail and the ball yarn. And then of course, since we're doing ribbing, the next stitch is purl. And when we come back around on the second round, you'll just knit them normally, but this just really creates a more secure start. I am a left-handed knitter. I just find it faster that way, but I do show how to use your right hand in a minute. The great thing is that knit and purl will always be the same, so once you learn how to knit and purl, you can basically make anything. So this is me showing with my right hand. I just find it a bit slower. You just have to make sure that when you're purling, the yarn is being brought in front, and then when you're knitting, the yarn is being brought back to the back. Even though this hat is a bit more complicated than maybe just a very plain hat, I do think it is very good for beginners because it's pretty fast. You can do this in, I'd say, like 3 hours maybe, and it's a great gift to give to someone or yourself. I always like making handmade gifts because if you bought this hat at, say, like Urban Outfitters, it was definitely made on a machine in like 30 seconds, and so you don't get as much love and quality. I go a little overboard showing the knit and purl, but really just to keep track, I just keep saying aloud knit, purl, or you know, in my head if you don't want to sound crazy in public. Once you're back around to the beginning again, all you have to do is move the stitch marker to your right needle and then just deal with those stitches like we talked about. You knit the first stitch as if it's 1 stitch, and then you'll purl the next stitch as if it's 1 stitch. So basically every round is the same. You just do the same rib pattern, and I ended up knitting around 6-7 inches for this hat. It just depends on how wide your brim is going to be. Showing off the finished product uncuffed, you can see what I mean. You just knit 7 inches of plain rib, and then you can see there at the very top where the decreases start, and I show that in the next clip. Just for demonstration's sake and the sake of saving time, I didn't knit 7 inches, I just did like 1.5 inches or something, but it's the same concept. And here I'm going to show you, you knit the 21 stitches, I forget, whatever it is, and then I'll show you how to do the double decrease. So this double decrease is going to take 4 stitches, and the first decrease is called a knit 2 together. It's very simple, it's exactly what it sounds. You just knit 2 stitches as if they were 1. And knit 2 together is naturally lean to the right, which means the other one has to lean to the left. So this one is called a slip slip knit. You're going to slip the first stitch as if to knit, and the second stitch as if to purl, and then you stick the left needle into the front of the stitches and you knit into the back of them together. It's essentially the same thing as knit 2 together, except backwards so that it lays to the left instead of the right. So here it is again. You just knit the first 2 stitches together like you would knit a normal stitch. For the next decrease, which is called a slip slip knit, you do just that. You slip the first stitch as if to knit, and then you slip the second stitch as if to purl. The reason you do it that way is because it makes it flat. If you knit it both as if to knit, it would not lay flat the same way. And then you stick the left needle into the front and you knit them together. The math on this hat isn't perfect, so after the first round I really just take the stitch marker out and just play it by eye. It's really evident where the decreases are. You'll see gaps, like as you see now, and you just take a stitch from each side of each decreased stitch and decrease them, and you just continue the pattern all the way up until you can't anymore. Here I'm just showing you the decreases on the hat. Since one is going left and one is going right, that's what contributes to that straight line that goes all the way up. And here you can see it from the top, the 4 points just converge to the middle. So eventually it's going to get tight enough that you're not going to want to be knitting it on a circular needle anymore, and that's when the double pointed needles come in. So all you have to do is take a double pointed needle and just immediately start knitting off of your circular needle, And I just tried to get one of the decreases on each needle. You can use either 3 needles or 4 or whatever you have. Here I'm just showing the decreases on the double pointed needles. Sometimes it can be hard because you need to have a stitch on either side of the decreases in order to do them. So eventually when you get down to only like 10-15 stitches, it's going to be a bit finicky, so you might have to borrow from other needles. Most sets of needles actually only come in sets of 4, but I just happen to have a ton of needles, which is why I'm using 5. But feel free to use as many needles as you feel comfortable with, but you just might have to buy more than one pack. The reason we started on the circular needle and then switched to double pointed needles is because double pointed needles are just so finicky and slow, because after each needle you have to switch it, and I just find that really annoying, so that's why I always start with a circular needle. I think it really helps if you push the needle that you're working on to the top of the other needles. It sort of gets them out of the way. Eventually you're going to get to the point where you can't do any more decreases. I believe I had like 9 stitches left. So all you have to do is cut the string a bit long, put it on a tapestry needle, and then just slip all the stitches onto the needle and pull it really tight, and then make a couple knots. After pulling it really tight, I like going around the circle again, just going back through the same loops maybe 2 or 3 times, and then I make a knot, and then I'll pull it to the back side, make a few more knots, just make sure it's really secure, and then weave in my end. The decrease ridge is going to seem a little harsh when you first do it, so here I am just kind of tugging it out a little, and of course when you wear it for a while it'll conform to the round shape and it'll be not as harsh. So showing the finished hat again, I just wanted to make the point of where I wove in my ends. So weave in the end on the top like I showed you, and then the one on the bottom, all you have to do is go back and forth a little bit and then clip it off. Just make sure it's enough that when you tug at it, it's not going to unravel again. And then you're done. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that it was informative and not too complicated. And if there's anything else you want me to make, just write it down below in the comments.